Good day, everybody. You're welcome back. I hope you're having a great day. And if you're watching this in the night, I hope your night is going smoothly. So today I'm going to be talking about a particular topic that I feel that I should talk about, which is identification of learning disabilities. Or should I just say, I want to talk about learning disabilities and how I feel teachers should handle them. So how do you handle learning disabilities? Learning disabilities, as a classroom teacher, you don't need a definition for learning disabilities. Any behavioral pattern, academic performance that is abnormal, that you discover that is abnormal. Abnormal here is not to insult anybody, but it's just to explain that what we have normal standards, that when a teacher is teaching, a child should pay attention. When a child is paying attention, the child should be following what the teacher is saying, and at the end of the class, the child is supposed to be able to recall. So when all these things are not happening the way they are supposed to happen, it's just like a giver and a receiver, and the person that is giving is giving. The receiver is not receiving as it should be expected, even when others are receiving. I'm not saying in a situation whereby nobody is actually receiving can now fault the teacher. But in a situation where some people are receiving and they are delivering and others are lagging behind, and it is a constant practice that they always lag behind no matter the kind of instruction that is being given. So we can establish that that kind of person has learning disabilities. But why am I talking about this today? I have noticed that in most schools, some teachers, let me not generalize, some teachers walk up to parents and start telling them, ma, this your son is not performing well at all. I think you have to be doing this, you have to be doing that, you have to be... Please, what's your business with that? That is quite unprofessional. When you discover that a child is having learning disability, how do you address these issues? Your work is not to diagnose. So don't walk up to a parent and say, I think your child is having autism. Don't think autism, ASAL. I think your child is having ADHD, ASAL now. Are you a doctor? Are you a clinical psychologist? That you will be the one to diagnose? No. Don't tell them this is what, because if you look at all these learning disabilities, some of them are so much alike that to pinpoint that this is what is wrong with the child, if you diagnose the child wrongly, that parent, in case you don't know the implication, the parent will walk into the hospital or wherever the person is getting care for the child and start giving them information that might destroy the child's life. Just imagine a parent coming into a doctor's room and saying, my child has autism because he's walking on his toes, because he doesn't speak well, because the teacher said when he doesn't concentrate in class. It might not be autism. It might be something else. It might not be ADHD. It might be something else. So don't just go to people and start telling them, your work is not to diagnose. Diagnosis is off your work as a teacher. Your work is to identify that this child has learning disability. Now, mind you, in case you don't know, the National Policy of Education has made it mandatory for every school to take all Nigerian child, whether with disability, physical disability, mental disability, educational disability, any kind of disability. It is your work as a teacher to train them, to make them useful for themselves. Achieve the objectives of primary education with your own, there's a way you can adjust the curriculum. Make sure you are able to bring something out of that child. The child can read and write. Basic literacy, that child must have it under your care. So you are not telling the parents in order for them to take their child out of the school. No. The only thing you can do is you can identify disabilities. That this child is having learning disabilities. When I'm teaching them, when you approach the parents, you explain. I noticed that your child, whenever I'm teaching, although if you're in a private school, you have to go through the head of school or the proprietors. I noticed that when I'm teaching, child doesn't respond well, okay, and I've watched this child for a period of so months. You can't just be saying something of 1 week, 2 weeks. The child might be passing through trauma within those 2 weeks. Maybe somebody flogged the child, or the child is having problem with the parents, or the parents are having issues, and it is telling on the child. So you cannot just decide within 2 weeks and say, this child is having any. No. You have to watch that child for a period of time. It might be a whole thing that you notice this pattern. Whenever I'm teaching, the child mind is out of the box. The child is not even concentrating. Then when we want to have classwork or group assignment, this child is always on his own, and it's not as if when he's on his own he's doing good. No, he's not even doing anything. Or the child, those are the things you tell the parents. You don't come up with a diagnosis and say, the child is having ADHD. The child is having autism, or the child is having dyslexia or dyscalculia. Do you even know whether the child has been taught the ABCs to identify? Can the child even identify all the letters on their own? Some children did not even pass through nursery, and they bring them to you for primary education, and they want you to perform wonders. Forget about the lies some parents might even tell you. And you want to perform wonders, and you feel that, since the child is 7 years old and he cannot differentiate between A, B, and C, instead of you to take your time to teach the child A, B, C, and D, and how B is different from D, how P is different from 9, you are busy diagnosing dyslexia. Or in case of dyscalculia, you want a child to calculate, and a child cannot even tell which numbers are in decimal. The problem is sometimes these children just have identification problems. It's not as if they have learning disabilities. So you have to walk back, which is actually tiring. You walk back, try to do all those things. It is when it has not worked, and make sure you have your evidence that I've tried this, I've tried that. Maybe you have a lesson book that you have been trying to put the child through a period of time. Then the child is not catching up. That is when you can now say, this child is having a learning disability. Please, don't specify. Don't tell us it's dyslexia. Don't tell us it's dyscalculia. Okay? For you to be able to understand what I'm just saying, and that all these learning disabilities they do not have a cure, but they do have a way of going about them. I would recommend 2 films, the ones that I've watched. If you have another movie that people can watch, you can also drop it in the comment section or share with us. Just let us know if you have experienced this with your teachers, your daughter's class teacher, or your son's class teacher, or your children's teachers. To say, you can share your views with us. You can let us know how disappointed you were and how those tips that you put in place, that is if actually the diagnosis was right, and those things that you've been putting in place to help your child. We are here to learn. Somebody in the comment section might just be using your tips to do better with his or her own child. So if you have anything to add to this, you can add it. We are here. So make sure you are subscribed. Hit the subscribe button. Like my video so that I can be encouraged to come up. And you know what? I can't start earning on YouTube until I get 500 subscribers. So do well to subscribe, share my videos to those that benefit from it. Until I see you next time, bye.